had growing up on the Coal River in rural West Virginia. And within his interpretations, he weaves the contributions of the African Americans to the Appalachian history and culture. He tells children's classics and a variety of jack tales too. He's performed in schools, festivals, libraries, and conventions throughout the region. He's also credited as the person in West Virginia who developed the elementary school program entitled We Are One, which examines the similarities in the Appalachian and African American cultures. In 1995, he released his first recording titled Nobody Knows. And in early 2020, he was selected as a teller by The Moth, an international storytelling group that offers shows across the country. So now let's hear from Bill Hairston.
Thank you, Joanne. You know, I was actually going to tell something funny tonight. I thought we didn't have some of the funny people. Then I heard James was going to be here, so it took care of that. So now I can get down to a story that I really want to tell you. My father was a different kind of man. He was a man that in 1935, he joined the U.S. Army. He stayed in the U.S. Army until 1960. After that period of time, he decided he was going to retire. He decided he was going to move back home to West Virginia. Now, by that time, his home county, which was McDowell County, was, well, it wasn't where my grandfather was living. My grandfather had moved up into Kanawha County, way out on Coal River, in a place called Lickskillet. And so my father decided, I'm going to move where his father was. And he moved his family out there off the Coal River at Lickskillet. Now let me try to explain this community to you. It was not a totally rural community in the fact that not everybody farmed. We all had animals, you know, everybody had something, cows or chicken, whatever it was that we did. And then of course we would sort of switch and do different things during the year, but we had chickens. That was our main thing. But a lot of people out there were some that had nothing to farm. We had one apple orchard out there. So what happened was that we as kids, I was 10 years old when we got there, and we as kids just loved running around. But we had a store. You know, a store, when I say store, some city people would probably call it a mercantile store. I don't really know what mercantile means, but it was a store where the kids could go every day and get candy. Or let's say that you only shopped about once a month in any grocery store. So all of those things that you would need along the way, bread, bologna, I don't know, cans of soup, whatever you might need, you could go down to the store and get it. Or you could get little hardware items. So it was one of those stores that had all kinds of things. And everything was in that store. And so we got in the habit of going down just about every day. Now, from my house to the store was about 1/8 of a mile, so it was an easy walk. And actually, we would, as we went to the store, we would come down a slight incline and turn right and go down to the store. The problem was that we had a man right there at that corner where you went down the incline and turned to the right. There was a man, very mean man. He was a guy that would sit on his porch all day and heckle the kids and call us names and just yell at us. And we hated that. We hated having to go by him each day, but we did it. I remember thinking to myself, I just wish this guy would just stop picking. Or this guy would stop making us so nervous, making us so scared. I just wish that would happen. he continued, day after day, scaring us. One day, my father, this guy who wouldn't even allow us to hunt, you know, after he was a World War II veteran, he was a Korean War veteran. He was in the Army at the time it integrated, and as a sergeant, had to deal with a lot of different stuff during those days. But he never talked about it, never had anything to say about it. We knew he didn't like guns. We knew he didn't like violence. So we just accepted him for who he was. He decided he was going to go to the store one day. Normally, when he went down, he would be in the car and he would drive down and turn and he'd be in the car and he wouldn't notice what was going on. But this day he said to me, "You want to go with me to the store?" And of course I wanted to go with him. To spend time with your daddy, walking and just talking. Are you kidding me? I jumped at the opportunity. And we started toward the store. We went down that incline. And I looked and the guy wasn't on his porch. It made me nervous for some reason, but he wasn't even there. So we went on down to the store. My father got his nails. That's what he was going down there to get. And he bought me a knee-high grape soda. Love that. Got a knee-high orange for himself, and we started back home. This time when we got to that turn or that corner, the guy was there. And he started. And he yelled and he said all these horrible, horrible things as we walked past. And then all of a sudden, he used the N word. My father stopped, handed me his knee-high orange, and turned and walked up on that porch. And before I could really realize what was happening, he had commenced to beat the crap out of that man. I mean, he was physically beating the guy. Now, keep in mind, this was a man that never showed this kind of anger. It scared me. It scared me as I saw him beating on this man. And I mean, really just beating and beating and beating. Without a word, he came off the porch. The guy's laying there on his stomach. It was awful to see. My daddy grabbed his knee-high grape. Oh, excuse me, his knee-high orange, actually, but he grabbed it, and we walked away back to our house. That was extremely disturbing to me. See this man who never, ever showed anger do what I just seen. The next day, the kids wanted to go to the store. And we went down the incline as we normally did. And the man was on his porch. But he said nothing. Nothing. We turned and went to the store and came back. And he said nothing. To put it bluntly, he never once uttered a word to us. Our total time there until we moved into Charleston at age 17, and he had quit. My wish had been answered. He no longer scared us. My wish had been answered. But it had disturbed me, scared me, hurt me, what had happened. About a month later, my daddy looked up at me and he said, you know, I want to go to the store. He says, you want to go with me? And I looked at him and I just said, no, Daddy. No, Daddy. Not this time.